Part 4. Remember, I have pagans, fake Christians, the inhabitants of the earth, everyone in every culture that's allowed, bother me with an organized effort to do so, and kind of they make it so their cultures are obnoxious, even more so than they otherwise would be, by doing what they're doing. Okay, so it kind of sensitizes me to their cultures as well, because everyone harassing me is in a culture that's allowed in the world, and they basically cover all the cultures one way or another. Okay, so we were on the trumpets. Okay, now before I begin, remember the mountain can also stand for Babylon. I've gone over this in my videos before. Okay, remember they changed my voice and my image, so on and so forth. It can also stand for Babylon, and when they say the hills fall on us and mountains cover us, and vice versa, what they're saying is they want Babylon's system to give them stupid psychology, LGBT fairy psychology, so they can disassociate from the suffering, which is an extremely bad idea. Okay, the foolish seek the stronghold of the rich, the righteous seek the stronghold of God. The state, the corporate state, you name it, right? Despicable. Okay. The trumpets. The first hail and fire mixed with blood is hurled on the earth. A third of the earth and the trees are burned up. So hail and fire mixed with blood. Okay. So what you're seeing in many ways is the new presence, okay, of hell. So God's wrath, right? God's presence turned into something, into the enemy of the human being. Okay, so they become pitiful. They become weaklings, right? Jeremiah 50, right? Remember, if you don't have hate for the Bible by this time, you're an idiot. You think these serious issues should be confused by some weird homosexual sage in Greece, right? And so on and so forth. As the Greeks and the Romans compiled the Bible, quote unquote, when they just made shit up to accompany their pagan religion. It's a complete fucking disgrace. Okay. 2, there's a huge mountain, all ablaze, thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turns to blood. A third of the living creatures die, and a third of the ships are destroyed. So remember, it talks about later in Revelation the ships and the merchants. It says, the Babylon's connection to the ships and merchants. They traded with these people. They sold them fine goods and cargoes, and they delivered these goods and the fruits of Babylon, so to speak, to the world through these merchants. So these people are turning into the walking dead. By the time Revelation is done, all the earth will be hell. These people will be the walking dead. Remember, the oil of God, right? Oil, and there can be an oil fire in the ocean. So what they're talking about is the process of making it burn forever. The smoke of their torment burning forever, referring to the people like a sea, that fire and hail and different alchemical and chemical elements are thrown into there. So these people are, they're burning in hell forever. So let's go back to the first trumpet. Let's go back to the censer, right? So it said that then an angel took the censer. Remember, censor is plain word for censorship, right? It's saying they're censoring God's children, screening them out. It's trying to keep them from being heard, right? The angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumbling, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake, right? Poseidon rapes Athena, right? Callisto, the rape of Europa, Leda. These different people, Ganymede, are raped by Zeus and Poseidon, who are brothers. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, right? So before this, the 4 horsemen, the 4 seals, Hades is riding out to destroy the world. The thunder and lightning stands for Baal and Set and Zeus, deities of the storm and lightning, right? These are their equivalent, right? Baal's Greek equivalent is Zeus, Roman equivalent Jupiter, Egyptian equivalent Set. So these deities of rape, chaos, storm, and lightning are riding out, okay? And also, well, there's really one deity that takes different forms. Zeus changes form, right? Baal is a shape-shifting Zeus, and vice versa, and so does Set. Set is the jackal, the boar, the snake, the antelope, the donkey. Different things are associated with Set, okay? So then the hippo, right? So these are shape-shifting deities, right? Baal, as known as the Baals, plural, okay? So there's more than one form of Baal. There's more than one form that's worshipped, okay? Also even Jupiter Baal, one of his epithets, Jupiter Amen, okay? So two, a huge. Okay, so basically that's what happens, and then begins the hail and fire mixed with blood is hurled on the earth. A third of the earth and the trees are burned up. So it's this moon temple lunacy, right? It's thrown on the earth, right? So remember, the moon turned blood red, okay? And so that spirit of the blood of the saints, the wine in the cup of the whore, is hurled to the earth, the hail and the fire. Okay, so people are burning up where it matters most. Instead of being these righteous people with this martial arts spirit of God, this real African falcon soul brother that goes far beyond R&B without all the sex cult token minority bullshit, right? The purified, true version that can't be attained after I die. Okay, you get this nonsense and sissies, kind of Simpson type of people, kind of brutes, gender neutral fools, conservative clowns, arrogant British, and so on and so forth. Okay, so two. A huge mountain, which is Babylon, all ablaze, is thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turns to blood. A third of the living creatures die. A third of the ships destroyed. Three, okay, a great star blazing like a torch falls from the sky on a third of the rivers and springs and water, and it is called wormwood, right? They turn bitter, right? Because the wormwood stands for bitterness. And it goes back to Amos where he says, you turning justice to bitterness and casting righteousness to the ground. So as they removed righteousness by being wicked and cheating me out of my right to lead, the world is turning into hell. Okay, see how there's no other way to interpret this that's sane. And it's coded there to trick you because the people who wrote the book, okay, want to sit there while you painstakingly try to figure it out, especially back then when they couldn't read. Most people couldn't read. Okay, they want to sit there beating their head against the wall saying, what does it mean? What does it mean? And rely on the very people doing it, which is a common psychological warfare technique, okay, and good cop, bad cop psychology to get answers. And these people are raping them in church. They're controlling the marriages. They're marrying people. They're sabotaging them. Corporate sabotage, government sabotage, psyops, black ops, you name it. Okay, because they're a rape cult. Ball is trash. By Bell, by Ball. Okay, Balat, the lady of Biblos, right, where they say the word Biblos from Bible meaning book or paper. Biblos, okay, the lady of Biblos is Balat, and that's not a coincidence, okay. The read and read, okay, the read A, read alpha, the scribe. They're trying to make it seem like the scribe who's like, where we get the word wise man, right, a sage, a wizzo, you know, a wizard, where math whiz, right, these words are connected, okay. They want you to look to these bitch-ass motherfuckers instead of the top martial artist who's the son of God. And if you don't know the difference between me and them, it's like a teacher that rapes kids in the butt versus the most righteous guy ever who's the top martial artist ever. It's retarded to follow them. Retarded. Okay? So it says, okay, four, the fourth trumpet. A third of the sun and the moon and stars are struck. A third turn dark. A third of the day without light, and a third of the night. So I guess a third of the stars are turned dark. Okay. And the eagle says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth because of the trumpet blasts about to be sounded by the other seven angels. Okay. And angels is play on words for angles, in goals, in gals, and glues rhymes with clues. It's very similar to clues, G and C. G is Gaia, the earth deity, and Zeus is part of the Gaia system. Gaia is a Greek deity, and G, I believe, is the Roman version of it. Gaia, Gaia. So it's LGBT people, okay? Notice it was an eagle. An eagle is a symbol of Rome, also a symbol of Zeus, okay? And so is the wolf. Okay, so beware of wolves in sheep clothes. Beware of the wolf interpretation of the Bible. Okay, and of course the Romans killed Jesus, right? They got him out of there. They persecuted his followers, and then they presented their own churches and said hi. And then from that evil tree sprung Protestant churches and the various factions of Protestants. Okay, pretty straightforward. They're evil. Okay, look at their history. You know, why did they have to look to Martin Luther King, somebody who's relatively new to the church culture of the West, for a more valid seeming kind of public figure, okay? And what tree did he come from? Did he come from the Western tree? Hardly, okay? No more than I did, right? Just because I was born here doesn't mean I'm like them. I'm second generation Nigerian. He comes from the Igbo tree, and they were enslaved and held in contempt by the church and the white people and so on and so forth. All right, basically. So now we go to chapter 9. We're eventually going to get to the point of the complicity argument. See, I'm going through this so you know that I'm not confusing you or cheating you or tricking you. Okay, that's not what I would do. And I take it from chapter 1, and I talk about how 1 talks about what Jesus looked like, the intense eyes, okay, and he's a focused moral intensity and not passive. Hades was depicted as passive, not Jesus. And I took you through the difference. Well, I'm running out of time, so chapter 9, fifth trumpet. The star that had fallen to earth, okay, is like the angels following people to hell in failure. Okay, so these angels failed to, the people who were supposed to do the right thing were more inclined to be angels. They fell to the earth is one way to look at it, right? They spiritually fell, and they didn't do the right thing, so they're following the devils into hell. Okay, and one of them is given the key to the shaft of the abyss. Okay, they go down with the ship on the earth. The world, so that the world is in defeat. Smoke rises. So after he opens the abyss, smoke rises, and there's more darkness, and the sun and moon, okay, are covered up, and out comes evil people. Now, locusts in the Bible are compared to Ashkenaz and Cush, and I didn't, there's a lot to this. I didn't check every time locust is used. When my phone is hacked, there's things in the Bible that don't come up when I do Google searches, and if I use certain Bible sites, it'll be hacked more. So it's safe to say that locusts stand for different groups of people, especially Ashkenaz, the Ashkenazi Jews, okay, and Cush, okay, but it's the whole world, right? They're following their lead and they're tormenting people, but especially certain people assigned to the task, okay, and they torture people who do not have the seal of God, okay. Now, the way they're playing it is if you're not sucking a white supremacist church dick, they're giving you a hard time. That's part of why I'm persecuted, because I'm actually of the one true God, where they're sucking a theater art dick. Okay, so, and of course they're not torturing the rich, right? The rich are being left relatively unharmed because they're sucking a corporate state Western theater art dick because they're shameless dogs. Okay, and of course they're butt buddies and so on and so forth. Okay, so they said that the locusts look like horses prepared for battle. The sounds of their wings are like the treading of the thundering of chariots. So there's when in Jeremiah it says, and in Isaiah 66, just Jeremiah 4, I believe, Jeremiah 30, something like that. Okay, there's two different places in Jeremiah we talk about the chariots of God are like a whirlwind coming down on the head of the wicked. Okay, so these people are getting fucked in the head. The locusts, the people are compared to locusts as well, as this is playing out. Okay, so wicked people are being allowed to abuse them like hell is depicted in popular culture. Okay, but hell is on earth. Okay, and then they're thrown into the lake of fire after that, which is distinguished. So hell is like the top, on earth is the top layer of hell. They're going down to hell. And when they die, they finish their journey and go to the lake of fire. Okay, and they burn it in the presence of God forever, right? The fire stands for the presence of God and the suffering that occurs if you aren't a wise builder who put on the fine linen for the righteous acts of the saints, right? The parable of the wedding banquet. If you don't have the fine linen for the wedding of me, the bridegroom and the spirit that I'm in, and Jerusalem, the new Jerusalem in heaven, you're thrown outside where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Anyway, so Apollo is said to be the head of these people. Apollyon, Abaddon, right? Abaddon, right? Apollo, a deity of light, okay, science, knowledge, etc., etc. Okay, also these people, all right, so four angels, so trumpet 6. The 4 angels are bound up in the Euphrates, okay, the earth, okay, and okay, so the Babylonian scum, they're released. So the 4 angels are bound up at that point. The 4 angels that were bound up already previously are released from the Euphrates, right? The Tigris and Euphrates and the Babylonian area. So they're Babylonian scum, fallen angels, okay? And they're released to raise all hell. It's similar to the Greeks in the movies. There's some myth movies saying, release the Kraken, right? They're releasing dark angel trash. There's 200 million mounted troops. It says something like 10,000 twice times 10,000 times 10,000 or something. So 200 million mounted troops. Their breastplate, instead of the breastplate of righteousness, is fiery red for evil. It is dark blue for the dark vision they have during the day, so to speak, and when the sun sets, and the yellow for sulfur instead of the bridegroom's son. Well, I'm almost out of time. Okay, so out of the horse's mouth is fire. Well, I'll leave it there.